Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for yet another episode of the Pick Up and Play podcast. My name is DJ Switch, and I have a couple of things to announce to you all before we get to the main interview for today. First of all, I got to give a big thank you to my Patreon folks, and of course, to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo for helping me support this show and supporting this channel as we move forward with this podcast. But I'm also very excited to announce that today's episode and the next several episodes will be sponsored by Vault 31 Bar in Vancouver, Washington. I'll tell you more about this excellent hangout spot in just a little bit. But the last thing I want to mention to you all is that I have the next 3 episodes already recorded. I have so many great interviews to bring to you all. So I hope that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, that you're following the Spotify, and I hope that you're enjoying the show so far. This show is designed for folks to put on something to listen to while playing video games. And so I hope that you all are enjoying some games as you're listening to this. If you are, please leave a comment below and let me know what game you're playing, what you're enjoying. And I'd love to hear from you. With that in mind, let's get to my interview today with Kris from the Game Dad Show YouTube channel. Kris, welcome. Thanks for hanging out and agreeing to do this.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I guess I should probably start with, you have a YouTube channel.
I do.
How long have you had said YouTube channel? It seemed like some of your videos go back about 4 or 5 years.
So I don't remember when I officially started the channel. It was a few months prior to me actually doing anything with it. But then I launched my very first video, and I remember because I was one day off from it. I launched it on May 5th. And I was just like, oh, that would be cool to launch it on May the 4th and everything. And I didn't. I did it one day late. So it's May 5th, 2018 was the date of my first video.
Nice. Star Wars nerd.
Yep.
My wedding anniversary is May 25th.
Nice.
Because that's when New Hope was released.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I'm the nerd. You got married on the day. Yeah.
It's also it was also happened to be the anniversary of like our first date. So
Nice.
It's not entirely a nerdy reason for that date, but
well, it depends on what you did on the first date. I mean,
well,
it's nerdy.
I mean, you know, played pool and hung out, but
oh, there you go. Yeah.
But we but that's, I mean, I'll never forget my wedding anniversary. That's for sure.
Yeah. Mine's an easy one. It's 12/11/10. So if I forget, I'll be in big trouble because that's an easy one to remember.
We only do it to ourselves, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you've had the YouTube channel for a little while, and so I presume that it's not your only thing that you do.
Nope.
What else do you do with your time?
So what I used to do is for just under 15 years, I did IT for a bunch of elementary schools in California. And while I did that, I also owned a martial arts school out there.
Wow.
And so I was working like 80 to 100 hours a week. And then in my free time, I would be doing, dad life and all of that. And then at night, once everyone went to bed, that's when I would do YouTube stuff. So yeah, it's definitely not my full-time gig. Would be cool someday, but yeah.
Well, I mean, your channel's called Game Dad. I presume that means you're a father.
I am. Yeah, I got 3 little ones.
How many? How old?
3 of them, and they all got birthdays coming up. So 7 almost 8, 5 almost 6, and 2 almost 3.
Wow. So you've definitely got your hands full.
Oh, yeah. But at least 2 of them are in school now. So during the day, it's a little less hectic.
That's helpful. Lighten the load a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. So with all of that going on, is it tough sometimes to find time to play video games and work on the channel?
It can definitely be tough at times, especially because it's where you kind of have to be in the mood to do it. Not so much like, oh, I'm not in the mood to be a YouTuber. It's more like, it's like I have a bunch of ideas and I'll try and like force myself to sit down. And I'm just like, man, like I'm just not feeling it right now. I just don't want to record this. And if I do, it's going to come out awful because that'll just come across in the video. So sometimes it gets hard because we'll be like out and about doing something. and I'll just like get that itch, and I'm just like, bro, I could like record the hell out of it, out of a video right now. Oh, I got all these ideas flowing. Like I want to do just a bunch of different content. So it usually comes in spurts, and it's usually at like 11 o'clock at night or like 2 in the morning. And I'll be dead tired, and I'll be like, I haven't recorded anything in like 2 weeks. I have no videos that are left to upload. I should really record something. And then once I get going, it'll be like I'll record like 15 videos at once. Yeah. So that's why you'll see a big chunk of videos where I'm wearing like the same outfit, hair looks exactly the same. And then once those are up, all of a sudden it's like full beard. And
yeah, no, I totally get that, man. This podcast was supposed to be monthly. And that went out the window very quickly. It turned into a weekly thing, and I've been trying to sort of keep up that pace. And so, I definitely appreciate the sort of creator's dilemma of like finding the time to batch content so that you're not spending all of your time making content. Cause that's how burnout happens. And that's why everyone's quitting YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. My most recent one, I did I was stoked, and I was like talking to a bunch of my friends and stuff, and I was just like, man, I've got like 4 months of content just ready to go, and it's all uploaded and scheduled, and this is amazing. And if I just think of something randomly, I can do it. And boy, did that time just like gone. And I was like, oh crap, I haven't recorded anything in 2 months. Like, dang. So yeah, I really enjoy batch recording. It's just once you batch record, then you have to batch edit.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's the thing is I remember, and I'm sure you feel this way too, when 4 months was a long time. And it's not really like that anymore.
Yeah.
Now that we're grown-ups.
Yeah, really. Yeah, so, I'd be like, wow, I get all summer off, and I'm like, man, I don't get no summer off. What is this?
So one of the videos that I saw on your channel, and it's quickly becoming one of your most popular videos, was the recent reveal of your game room. I saw 1 or 2 videos where it was like down to the drywall, like you really overhauled that entire space. Can you walk me through that process of creating sort of your ultimate game room, and what went into your plans for that space, and how you ended up making some of the decisions you made?
Yeah, for sure. So previously we were in California. We've been in Michigan for about a year now. And when I was there, my game room was a 3-car garage. And I just kind of lined the walls with everything in there. And I always had dreams of kind of redoing it and revamping it and making it new. And then everything with moving came up, and that was one of the big things, in the Midwest. Basically every home has a basement. So it was like, all right, I'm going to have a basement. This is going to be awesome. And a lot of places we were looking at, they were already finished, or they just needed, a little TLC. But we ended up buying new, and it was a completely unfinished basement. The only thing that was down here was a couple of the load-bearing walls, the framing for the stairs going up, and then they do like insulation halfway up on the walls. So it was very minimal framing and very minimal insulation, what they needed to get by for code.
Right.
So knowing that we were getting this house when we were going into like escrow and everything, I started planning out like how I was going to want it to be, because I work from home. So I knew I was going to have an office space. I knew I wanted to have a media room. I knew I wanted to have a dedicated recording area, a dedicated arcade area, like DIY space. I wanted all my little sections. So just kind of like roughed it out on paper, just kept like revamping. It's like, oh, well, what if I did this? Well, what if I did that? And then just started making my big wish list of everything that I wanted to do. And with my IT background, that meant that it was going to have a lot of tech involved in it. And it was going to be smart. It was going to be all that stuff. So, the product of it is like the area I'm in right now is like my office area. And that's like one little zone that I set up. And then as soon as you walk down, Yeah. And as soon as you walk down the stairs, that like main area, if you count them back, like you see a couple lights, then the next set. So those first couple lights, that's like the one little zone. Just when you walk down, just get some general light. The media room, which is on the other side of this wall, is another zone, and then all the way in the back is the studio. And then our mechanical room, where the furnace and stuff is, it's there's I built some stuff in it, but I didn't finish it like the rest of this because I didn't need it to be. It was just going to kind of be a workshop and 3D printers and stuff.
Right.
But all of these are their own zones, so I can control them all. They're all like full dimming lights, all that stuff. But then in the media room, I wanted to make sure, because I also have a big projector setup. So I wanted to make sure that it was easier to use than it was when we were at our old house. At our old house, if we wanted to do a movie night with a projector or anything, I would have to go in and unplug the cabling, switch it over to something else. That way I could do the projector instead of the TV. And it was always a pain in the butt. Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that anymore. And in the media room, I made it so everything is all just wired into the walls. All the HDMI runs, all the network runs, everything is all right there. It's a big power bank that's on 2 separate circuits so that all the consoles can be plugged in. I don't have to worry about power strips or anything like that. And then what I did is from the console area, there's I have a 4x4 HDMI switch. So it'll take 4 inputs, but it has 4 outputs.
Okay.
So one of the outputs goes up to the projector, another output goes into the TV, and then another output goes into the wall. And from the wall, that leads to a run that I have over at my desk. That way, anytime I want to capture footage from any of that, I have a direct run into my capture card. And then I went from my desk into the mechanical room area with another HDMI run. That way, if it's ever one of the consoles I don't have like actively hooked up, when it's done, it'll have another TV and like little console area set up so that I can just quickly swap a console in. I can still capture footage from it and then just swap it back out. So I have a quick change area for all of that. And then, I did all of the framing in here. I did like 90% of the flooring. My dad helped me out with that. And then I had the sheetrock done because I had never done it before. But now that I know how, if I ever do it again, I'm definitely saving that money. And I mean, they did a great job, but it's pricey.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Got the whole place painted and everything. And one thing that I wanted to do, like you can see the little jut out right here. That's a closet hiding the sump pump.
Okay.
Because they didn't put it in mechanical. They put it just kind of out in the middle. So it was really annoying placement.
What?
I don't know. There was only one model of house that we looked at from the developer where they actually had it in the mechanical room, and it was like 800 square feet smaller than this house. And I'm like, nah, man, we got 3 kids. I need space.
Yeah. Jeez.
So built that around it. And the original idea was I love secret doors and secret bookcases and stuff. So the original idea was hidden bookcase that would open up. And my dad and I were sitting there trying to figure out how to get it to do it. And they make like custom hinges and stuff for that. But it was going to be a huge pain to get it to work right.
Right.
And my dad's just like, well, all this is doing is giving you access to the sump pump. He's like, you'll maybe need access to there a couple of times every decade. He's like, it's not something you need to get into regularly.
Yeah.
So instead, we just made it a big pull-out shelf. So you can kind of see it right here. And it's just a big custom bookshelf that we made. And it has 2 cotter pins. So you just like pull the pins and the whole shelf will just lean out. It can easily get access to the sump pump, and it does what I want it to do. And right now it holds the Lego bus collection.
It's one way to make something that's otherwise not functional into something that's functional, though. Like
exactly, yeah. My dad, he was just like, "So what? You want like a 3-4 foot shelf or something?" I was like, "Nah, I want floor to ceiling.
Yeah,
I want as much shelf space as I can get out of that."
Dad, I don't think you understand Legos.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't
many.
understand that. Yeah, he thinks they're cool looking when they're done, but he's just like, no, I saw the price tag.
Yeah. I would imagine he's probably a lot like my parents. They just sort of see it as toys and not a means to manage modern day stress and anxiety.
Yeah. It's a collectible. You don't understand. Um, but then on the walls, I took the slat wall that I had, like these two walls right here. I had four by 8 sheets of slat wall that I used for all the shelving in the previous game room. So brought those all here, and they were just like raw material, raw MDF. So when I was priming everything, I just laid those down on the floor in here, primed them as well. Then I painted them the same color as the wall, added a little cord around to make it look a little nicer, and
Nice.
now it's like a permanent fixture in here. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it came out really nice. It took around 3 months, but and I talked about it, like the breakdown of the costs and everything in the build video for it. But I ended up saving like over 50 grand by doing it myself, like
Wow.
based on how much it costs to build out a basement. So
Uh when you started sort of like designing the different areas and stuff and
mhm.
sort of like kind of like plotting everything out, were you going for like a game store vibe, or were you thinking more of like a hangout, like comfort vibe, or like
uh,
is this like just your space, or do you have others people that like hang out and enjoy the space as well?
so anyone that ever comes over are welcome down here to enjoy the space and everything. And my kids will come down all the time. My wife comes down every once in a while. And like if we do a movie night, it's down here.
Yeah. Okay.
We haven't done one with the projector yet down here, just because I didn't have it fully set up when we were doing some. But that was one of the things is the old game room TV moved into the living room in the new house,
Mm.
so that meant I had to get a new one. So darn.
You seem really bent
So,
out of shape about that.
yeah, it was rough, man. So instead of a 70-inch, now I got an 85-inch TV down here. So
Oh
that
darn.
is it's okay for movie nights, I guess. But yeah, no, and it's funny because until I built it out in this space, I had never gotten the comments about the game store. Like dozens of people say that now. They're just like, "Wow, it looks like you're in a Blockbuster or something." I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I guess I am." Yeah.
Hey,
um,
if you've got the software laying around and you'd want to
exactly,
display it, I
exactly.
mean, there's not a lot of ways to display video games without looking like a video game store, right?
Yeah. Well, and especially like this quantity, because I'm like
Right.
at like 4,500 games. So it's
Jeez.
a lot. And I did not want that many bookshelves. Like, that's so many bookshelves. And then if you run out of room, there isn't really much you can do with these because the shelves are so wide. They're 48-inch wide shelves. Um, and like on this wall, like it's side by side.
Yeah.
But with those, so what I did, all the games were standing vertical, and then I started running out of space.
Mhm.
So then switched them all to horizontal, and all of a sudden now I have a bunch of empty shelves that I can fill with more games. But
Interesting.
yeah, you have that freedom to kind of like redo it in a way that it'll work a little better. But yeah, it wasn't designed with like game store vibes in mind. It was designed in that I wanted a way to easily see all my games
Yeah.
and go pick whatever I wanted, and definitely not have crippling anxiety when I try to figure out what I want to play.
Right.
And then I just,
Or where to find it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The media area is definitely built around comfort, and like the kids will come down and like they'll have an iPad and they'll just come and sit on the couch down here and watch their iPad, or they'll watch something on the TV, or like sometimes my son, he'll come down here and he'll be watching stuff because my wife works from home as well, so she'll
Okay.
be working or she's got some calls to do, and I'm just plugging away doing what I'm doing, and he'll go chill on the couch and watch whatever show he's watching,
Nice.
and yeah, it makes it a nice hangout. And then over in the corner, that's kind of the only area that the kids know that they're not allowed to mess with, because that's where I have all the cameras and everything permanently set up.
All dad's videos
So,
and YouTube stuff.
yep, yeah. I mean, they'll sit and they'll watch videos be made and stuff like that. And it's like, look, you can stay down here, but you got to be quiet.
Yeah.
I don't want to edit you out of the background. So, but yeah, I mean, it was more designed with the purpose of I knew I needed a workspace. I knew I needed a space to like hang out and play games, and I knew I needed a recording space. And then everything else was going to be basically storage and display.
Nice. Right on, man. So as you go through and set up your shelves and you start deciding like where to put all of your software? Is there like a method to that madness? And side question, are you still actively collecting?
So side question first. Yes, I'm still actively collecting. I've toned it down. Like I used to basically, oh, there's a game in front of me. I'm going to get the game. So I don't do that anymore.
What's the price on this? Yes.
Exactly. It's just like, if I buy everything you've ever owned, do I get a discount? Yeah. Um, so I've definitely toned that down over the years, and I've kind of gone into, it's like, all right, I'm very close to completing like a couple of sets, so I'll mainly look for those, or it'll be new games that come out. I'll get a lot of new games when they look fun or interesting. But as far as old stuff, like basically the only things I've been collecting for like the past year or two is Wii U and N64. Because I am almost at a full North American set for Wii U. Like it's like less than 5 games now. I think I have 3 games to go. And for the global N64 set, I think I have 60 games left for like the global set.
Holy cow.
For all of them. So it's only the exclusives for PAL, but a complete North American and complete Japanese set.
No kidding.
So those are the ones I've been collecting for. And then every once in a while, if I see something that pops out that, I rarely ever see, or that looks kind of fun or is weird, I'll pick it up. Like a recent pickup a couple months ago, I got a killer deal on a complete in box blue PS Vita Series 2, like the second generation of it.
Yeah.
I got a killer deal on that thing. So I was like, well, yeah, I'm down. Wow. And then there was another store, they had a bunch of N-Gage games. And I was like, well, you never see N-Gage games. So yeah, I'll buy some of those. Why not?
I always forget about the N-Gage.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah. That was a thing. But yeah, I am still actively collecting. As far as like displaying everything, there is definitely method to the madness. And that's something Jay likes to really screw with me on. And payback will be severe. But I don't know if you've seen a bunch of his shorts where it's just like, oh, I'm down in Game Dad's game room again. Let's see what we can mess with. He likes to move things, and it's definitely not irritating. I mean, it's all in good fun, but
is it though? Is it though?
For you. But yeah, it's like a lot of all of my cartridge stuff is on this side, plus some of like the way older stuff, and then all of the more modern things are on this side, and then I have a section for all of like my third-party collector's editions and homebrews and stuff like that. But it's everything is organized by console and then alphabetical within the console.
Nice.
So that I can easily find it. So it's like it goes like my GameCube, Wii U, Switch, and then I got my PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Xbox 360. And then I went so far as, and it's only because they changed the label finally. I have all the Xbox One, and then I have all the games that are more like Series X and S, because they changed the label on it. So it's like, okay, I can discern what is what now. And then over here, like we got the super old stuff. Like I got my 2600, and then in television, 5200, 7800. I've got like some Vectrex stuff up there, Odyssey, some old Commodore stuff. Then it goes down into like Famicom and FDS. I've got some Trash 80. Let's see, TurboGrafx, 3DO, Sega CD, Dreamcast, Saturn. I got a big CDI collection. That was actually a Riggs collection that I bought from him.
No kidding.
And then it goes into a bunch of the old handheld stuff like Neo Geo, Lynx, Game Gear. Then it's all the Nintendo handhelds. Then it gets down into NES, Super Nintendo, and 64.
Huh. So, first of all, note to self: don't show Jay my record collection.
Oh, he will mess with it.
No, no, he can look, but he can't touch. But I have a question for you, and I've only asked this question of one other person so far in the course of this podcast. How many complete collections do you own? Complete
0.
system collections? 0.
I don't have a single complete collection.
Okay, so you're working on it. You're hoping it'll get there soonish. Sounds like you're pretty close on a couple of them.
there's one that I've been one away from for years, and that's Virtual Boy.
Mm.
And that's because the one game that I'm missing, while it's a fun game, it's not $1,500 fun.
Right.
And that's Jack Bros. I have the Japanese version of it, so I think technically that counts. But
Yeah, that's
and
that's tough,
for a
man.
while, I was like, you know what? Fine, maybe I'll just go for the global set then. Whatever. It's not that many games. It's like 22 games globally. But then I looked at a couple of those titles, a couple of the Japanese games, man, even loose are like $5,000 because they were such a low print run, and they're not even games. It's like testing software. It's like, oh no, this is dumb. I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
But then
that's wild.
N64 is super close. And Wii U is the closest one. I'm hoping I can finish Wii U this year, mainly because I already have the super expensive titles.
What are the do you know off the top of your head what are the 5 that you need for Wii U?
Not off the top of my head, but I have a full inventory sheet. That way I stop buying duplicates. It still happens, but a lot less now. Let's see here. So I need Axiom Verge Multiverse Edition, Book of Unwritten Tales 2, Cabela's Big Game Hunter Pro Hunts, and Warriors Orochi 3 Hyper. 2 of those I've never seen in person. One of them, they had it, but it was sealed. And it was the Axiom Verge. They had it sealed, and I was like, man, I don't want to pay for it sealed because I'm just going to break the seal. And then come to find out, they were selling it for way over what it needed to be. They were selling it at the time. I ended up looking it up afterwards. They were selling it for like $300, and the price for it sealed is $150. And because I'll go in every couple of months and I'll update my average price based on like eBay sold listings, price charting, all of that stuff, and I'll get kind of an average of it to figure out, it's like, okay, what's a fair price to pay for this? And I couldn't believe how expensive it was. There was a recent Whatnot stream where I was like, yeah, I'm going to be able to get these. This is going to be awesome. And stuff was instantly going way over value. I mean, somebody ended up paying, it was close to $400 for Book of Unwritten Tales 2. And the game is not worth that much. It's just not. It's like I could literally go on eBay right now and pay a quarter of what you just paid for the same thing. So,
yeah.
But I don't want to go on eBay. It's more fun when I find it out in the wild.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. Folks, I am so excited to announce that this episode has been sponsored by Vault 31 Bar. Vault 31 is a state-of-the-art shelter designed by the best minds in the business for absolutely anyone that's 21 plus and lives for all things video games and geek culture. Do you need to quench your thirst after a long day in the wasteland? Vault 31 offers an incredible selection of beverages and signature cocktails to help you rehydrate. Or if you're hungry, they've got plenty of delicious options available from their kitchen, including the new Smurshbergs or my recently discovered favorite, the Bat Cave. But no gaming haven would be complete without an extensive library of consoles and games to choose from. Console libraries include games from every Nintendo console, all 5 PlayStation consoles, all 4 Xbox consoles, and even the Sega Genesis and Sega Dreamcast. But I hear what you're saying, traveler. Maybe PC gaming is more your thing. In that case, check out their PC Lounge featuring all of these games. Between the games, the drinks, the food, and the fun atmosphere, Vault 31 Bar strives to be a place where everyone feels welcome. Whether you hail from the Brotherhood, the Institute, the Atom Cats, or the Minutemen, everyone from New California to the Commonwealth is welcome here. Vault 31 is just off East Mill Plain in Vancouver, Washington, and only a short 10 to 12 minute trip across the river from the Portland International Airport. Be sure to visit them at vault31bar.com or at Vault 31 Bar on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and Twitch. Vault 31 is easily one of my favorite hangout spots in the greater Portland area, which is why I'm both flattered and excited to be partnering with them on bringing you future episodes of this podcast. Please be sure to check out their events calendar to find out what they'll be up to next. And when you do get a chance to stop by, please let them know I sent you. Maybe I'll even see you there. And with that, let's get back to the show. It's crazy to me how this game collecting thing and this retro game collecting thing has just spiraled out of control,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, is for lack of a better phrase. Um, when I started with the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I liked video games. I had a podcast that was the direct result of a video game column that I wrote when I was a journalism major in college.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I've talked at length in previous episodes about like growing up in a computer store, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I've been around video games pretty much my whole life. I've always had an interest in video games. But I remember in 2011 and being around the Portland Retro Gaming Expo folks and realizing that collecting was much bigger than I realized,
Mm-hmm.
and B, how much more accessible it was 13 years ago, 14
Mm-hmm.
years ago than it is now.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's weird that in just that span of time, how much everything has exploded in price,
Yeah.
how much everything has like diminished in availability.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it feels to me like the there's an old phrase, the inmates are running the asylum. And when it comes to retro gaming, I feel like the inmates in this case would be the scalpers and the
Yep.
price gougers, the eBay warriors,
Yeah.
that are kind of ruining the party, right?
Yeah, because they'll just put it at whatever price they want, and people are going to pay it if they can't find it.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes to me. Has that been your experience? Have you run into any like major issues with being able to acquire stuff at a reasonable price point? And is there maybe a story or an anecdote from your past where you've run into this and had to sort of overcome that, um uh either through lack of experience on the other side or just straight up greed, where you've had to kind of like work around that?
So there have definitely been times where I will be like looking at stuff, and I there's times where I'll just straight up walk away from a table. Like I'll find a couple of games, or you'll look at like a couple of commons,
Mhm.
and you'll see the prices they have listed, or you'll ask them. And one, if you're especially at a con, if you're there and you're running a booth and you're like standoffish, I don't care if you have the best prices in the world. I'm done with you. Like I have zero interest in talking to you or anything. But I the next thing that I look for is if there are common games and you have like total price gouging on them, like say it's like somebody wants like a Mario 3 or something like that. It like I don't even know what the current value is, but I guarantee you're going to find a couple of people. They'll be at cons, especially flea markets, things like that. They'll try and sell you that for $80.
And we're not
And
talking about the Left Bros variant. We're just talking
no, we're talking about just a bog standard
standard
Mario
Mario
3.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, like somebody is walking through, they've never been to a game convention. They're like, wow, I remember playing this as a kid. I want to get this. Wow, this thing costs that much now? Okay. They have no idea. And for somebody like me, I know that that game is not worth that. And it's just like, okay, you're a total a hole. You just price gouge somebody that has no idea. It's
Yeah.
like, it could be a total adult, everything. They are a responsible person, all that stuff. They just don't know about this. And
Yeah.
what you did was just take advantage of them. And it's exactly like you just took candy from a small child.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you just did when you price gouge people. But then you'll find the other booths where stuff will either be priced pretty on par or pretty reasonable. Maybe it's a little more, but if you buy 2 or 3 items from them, they'll give you a deal, and it'll end up being less than what it's going for. So it always washes out. There's always the good and the bad, but it is pretty stinking easy to spot the ones where they're just taking advantage of people. More
Yeah.
often than not, they're jerks, and so it's like, oh, get out of here, peasant, unless you have wads of cash.
Right.
And then they're just if they are price gouging on something that's a common game, on uncommon games or like a rare game or something like that, they're going to be way over the top on the price.
Yeah.
But thankfully there are still a lot of people that they are really chill about it. They're willing to work deals. They're willing to talk with you. Like, you can tell that they are there because they want to be there and they want to share what they have with people. Yeah, they're there to make money, of course, but they're there to share their passion about it. I mean, that's how I ended up getting right there. The Vectrex, that
I
one,
see it all the way in the back, way back there.
yeah, that one, it was expensive enough that I called my wife and I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to make a bigger purchase. And she's just like, why are you asking me? You never asked me. I was like, when I say it's a bigger purchase.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a killer deal. And nowadays, you will be hard pressed to find a Vectrex that is in working condition for less than $500.
Yeah.
And I got that one complete in box with an extra controller complete in box and a stack of games complete in box for $700.
Yeah.
So, and that was just what, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So the prices are way outrageous now, and people just unfortunately are taking advantage of it.
About 10 years ago, my wife was running a video game store, and they had a working Vectrex in there on the counter for a little while, and
Like $200.
About three, I think.
Nice.
But it had like all the stuff. It had all the gels. It had all the whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, and in fact, I know who bought it.
Oh yeah,
and I'm not gonna call him out on the show because I know he watches this show.
What's up, dude that bought a Vectrex?
I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to give him away. But I know who bought that specific Vectrex, and I know he didn't pay $500 for it. But again, that was 10 years ago, and so I guess my next question then is, in your opinion, how important is it for people who are serious about collecting to get involved in the culture, make friends, get to know people, seek out guidance, that sort of thing?
Oh, I think it's of the utmost importance. It's all about who you know. If you don't know anyone, then you're never going to know better. And you'll never develop those connections to be able to get access to better pricing, better people, better stock, things like that. I'm fortunate enough that I'm friends with a lot of really cool people in the scene now, and that have been around doing this for a really long time, and that have a lot of influence in retro gaming and like retro YouTube and all that stuff. And it has opened up doors for me to be able to do other things, to go to other places, and to be able to get access to like pricing and knowledge about things that I didn't have before. And like John Riggs, I mean, coolest dude ever. And he has helped introduce me to a ton of people that have led to me now having a big chunk of contacts where if I'm looking for something, they'll hit me up about it. And they'll be like, hey, I have this. Are you interested, or do you know somebody that is? So I think it's absolutely important that, make friends with people. I mean, nobody likes it when you act like a dick, so just don't.
Sure, right.
It's, be kind to people. It's the old adage, treat people the way you want to be treated.
Isn't that the first rule of the internet? Don't be a dick.
Yeah, a lot of people break that rule. Yeah. I mean, I'll break that rule too, but that's only with trolls, and it's because it's so fun to mess with them.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, it's just treat people nicely. I mean, don't screw people over. If somebody is offering you an amazing deal on something, but you're getting like the vibe that maybe they don't know what they have, be honest about it. It's like, instead of it being something like, oh, they have an item that's worth $500 and they're only asking, $80 because they don't know it's this rare variant or something like that.
Yeah.
It's be upfront about it. And maybe they do know and they just like you and they want to give you a killer deal. Maybe they don't know, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to be super appreciative of you sharing that knowledge with them, because now they know for the future, and they'll probably still end up giving you a pretty killer deal. It'll probably be more than what they originally asked, but it's don't screw people over. And the more friends you have and the nicer you are, the easier it's going to be to not screw people over, and people will be more willing to work with you and give you cool deals.
There's another old phrase that comes to mind whenever I talk about this with other people within the community. And it's that no one is an island, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are as good as the people you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true of everyone. And so if you go into something like this thinking it's a competition, or that, the only way to win is to beat everybody else,
Yeah.
you're not going to get far. You're going to lose a lot of money. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to, frankly, at this point, you're never going to complete those collections, because people
Yeah.
won't want, people who can help you do that won't want to work with you.
Exactly.
John Hancock is a very, very nice dude. John Riggs is a very, very nice dude. And I will tell you from firsthand private conversation experience, there are people that those guys don't like
Mm-hmm.
and won't work with and won't deal with. And there are very good reasons for that.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So,
obviously not naming names or anything, but
right.
yeah, it's just like, because I was there for a couple of things, and it's just like,
Really?
what the hell is this person's problem? Like, yeah, no. And it's just like, yeah, no, you've just basically screwed yourself. And it's like, and one, you shouldn't be a dick to anyone.
Right.
But two, don't be a dick to somebody that's very well connected.
Yeah.
When somebody is very well connected, and especially, like the Johns, whenever they're like super nice people, and then somebody sees them upset regarding a person, it's just like, wow, okay, it must have been bad if the two people that are just like, yeah, whatever, let's do this, are even like, nah.
two of the most amiable, easygoing guys that have been around this community a very long time, and they know everybody, and they're connected to everybody. Like, yeah, it's always weird to me when someone makes the mistake of confusing kindness with weakness.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And you see a lot of that in the retro gaming community. You see a lot of that in the arcade community and in the pinball community. People who are kind to others. There are folks who will see that as either for whatever reason, they perceive it as fake, they perceive it as weak, they perceive it as someone who they can either take advantage of or bully their way into getting, whatever it is they want out of them. And I have yet to see that ever work.
No,
I've never seen it
always
work.
end up backfiring, because and like with Hancock and Riggs, and like with Jay and like Jason, like all of them, it's anytime I am out and about and hanging out with any of them, they are always super nice. Like you'll get the people, and I was this way when I like first met them too. It's like the starstruck, like, oh my God, I've been watching you for a long time, not in a creepy way. And
Well,
just come say hi. Don't be weird about it. Like, just say hi. Who cares? I'm just a person. But then like me, I'm a naturally skeptical person. So it's like, you see somebody and it's just like, I can instantly suss out. It's like, you're fake. There's something about you that is off. I like a lot of people, and something is telling me I don't like you for some reason. So, I'll notice that with them all the time. It's like, they'll be so stoked for somebody to come up, and it's just like, I don't know about that person.
Sure. Well, and I mean, my experience with this comes largely from working in entertainment, right? Like, I've been working turntables for 25 years plus at this point. And so I've had to deal with all kinds of folks. And especially in, like, I hate to pigeonhole the nightlife community, but it definitely attracts more than its fair share of very superficial people.
Too much Red Bull and not enough sleep.
Well, not sure. Let's go with Red Bull. White powdery Red Bull.
There's all kinds of things that'll give you wings, buddy.
Yeah. And those folks that are that sort of live life that way, made it very difficult for me to want to stay in
Mm.
that world. And that's part of the reason why I'm grateful now to sort of be on the other side of the pandemic and
Mm.
having sort of made the decision, no, I'm not going back to that world. I'm going to continue on being an entertainer, but I'm going to do it on my own terms. I'm
Yep.
going to do things like this podcast. I'm going to do things like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo and other sort of nerd cons in my area. And just sort of involve myself in that scene, because as much as I've experienced that superficiality and that and the sort of pain and frustration that can come from those folks, I have equally seen the amount of dedication and passion and authenticity that can come from the nerd space, the gaming space, and I
Exactly.
absolutely love that. And
Yeah. A
so,
lot of the times it's just people want a friend. They want someone to talk to and hang out with.
man,
And I love that.
that's so true. That's so true. Uh, and so that, I guess, then leads nicely to the next thing I want to ask you about was, you mentioned that you and I have a lot of mutual friends that are
Mhm.
game collectors. And I'm curious, especially being from the Midwest, or at least currently living in the
Mhm.
Midwest. Is there a specific gaming event that you particularly enjoy? Was there a recent experience that you thought was particularly fun?
Um, so I have yet to have gone to a convention that I didn't like.
Mhm.
I mean, there are things at different cons. I'm not going to say what or at what cons to give anything away, but
Sure.
there's always like a little something here and there where it's just like, well, that was kind of annoying. Um,
Sure.
but
But by and
I mean,
large, it's hard to be mad when you're in a room full of nerds that are being passionate about the thing that they're nerdy
exactly.
about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, PRGE. Will always have a special place because that was the very first convention of any kind that I ever went to was PRGE in
Really?
2018
Wow.
or 2018, 2019, one of those. But yeah, that was the very first one I ever went to. And that was because of John Riggs. He was just like, no, dude, come on. You got to come out. He's like, if you're going to go to your first one, he's like, this is going to be amazing. You got to go to this one. And I was like, okay. So I went to Portland and I had a blast. It was amazing. And like, that
The
was the first
DJ's an
time.
idiot, but the rest of it, though.
Yeah. um, so, I mean, and that was the first time Riggs and I ever met in person. We had been talking for months, but
Yeah.
first time we ever met in person, that's when I met Hancock and met a bunch of other people. And it was cool. It was a ton of fun, and I was instantly hooked. And then now I've traveled with Riggs specifically to a few different cons and like different events and stuff like that. But I gotta say, so far my favorite, just because of the scale. And I mean, PRGE is still a huge show, but I don't know if it's like the big boy anymore with Midwest Gaming Classic.
Mm,
I mean, MGC is just, whew. I mean, if PRGE hadn't stopped for those couple of years, they
yeah.
would still be the biggest, hands down.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, we know why they needed to. But with MGC, I mean, it's on another level, and I'm now within driving distance of it. It's only 4 hours away.
Oh, wow.
So every year I had been flying to it, and obviously that's not cheap, but
Now,
now I can just drive to it.
Midwest Gaming Classic's the one that also has the like full size wrestling ring in the middle of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I've heard
Yeah.
about this. I've heard about this thing. If you
Yeah.
have enough
You
space
have
for
got
a
to go to
wrestling ring,
MGC. Yeah, they have the wrestling ring. The arcade is just good
mm,
lord. Like, you wouldn't expect there to be that many arcade machines in the state, let alone in one location like
in one
that.
room,
I
yeah,
mean, they have hundreds of arcade machines,
yeah.
hundreds of pins. And then the free play area, it's a massive, massive area, just rows and rows of tables of anything you can imagine. But then they set up a whole bunch of like, like 70s and 80s styles, like family rooms.
Yeah.
Uh, so you can go and just be like chilling on, a lime green beanbag on brown shag carpet playing Atari. And then it's 3 stories tall. So they have a whole area that's like all card game, tabletop, like D&D, all that kind of stuff. They have the whole vendor hall and the arcade area. And then they have a whole huge section for like developers and indie developers.
Oh, wow.
Then in between all of that is the main hallway to get to everything. And it's just lined wall to wall with like artists and all kinds of stuff. And then their VIP night, they call it the VIG, the Very Important Gamer. They do
Okay.
a big concert whenever they do that. And I've gone to it a couple of times, mainly because I've gotten pretty close with the dudes from Mortal Kombat because of my background in martial arts, knowing them like outside of the Mortal Kombat stuff. And it's funny because the one guy, he from his original like headshots, you would never guess that he's just like a wild and carefree party dude, because now he's got super long hair and everything, and now he looks like a party dude. Always got a huge smile, big old glasses and everything, like big shades. But he always does Kung Lao and the Scorpions. So he has his own rock band, and the running joke is just like, all right, how far into the first song do you think it'll be before he takes off his shirt and does a backflip? And so there's always like a pool going. It's just like, damn, it only took him 10 seconds this time. Yeah, it's just like, yep, stripped and backflip. All right. But there's just all of that stuff always going on. And it's always a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, love going to all the different cons. I always have a blast. Anytime I go to a con, getting to meet new people, hang out with old friends, all that stuff. But I would say the big one that it's like, no, I am definitely going to this one is MGC each year.
It sounds like the scope of MGC sort of goes beyond the retro space and into a lot of, it sounds like there's tabletop, there's wrestling, there's artwork, there's like
it's becoming
a broader scale of thing.
Yeah, I would argue, it's becoming less of a gaming classic, and maybe it should be like MNC, the Midwest Nerd Classic, because it's just everything you can imagine from the 80s and 90s that was just awesome. If it was on TV, if it was gaming, if it was art and music and like, wrestling, everything is just there. Right. And there is something for everyone. And I mean, it's relatively speaking for what you get. I mean, it's cheap.
If you were a kid on a weekend in 1997.
What's that?
If you were a kid on the weekend in 1997,
oh my God, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, even for like their most expensive thing for the VIG, I think it's $150, and that gets you like early access, that gets you VIP access, that gets you access to like the after party, all that stuff.
Wow.
And
it's not bad.
I think the regular tickets, I mean, don't quote me on this, I think they're between like $50 and $70 for the whole weekend.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome. I mean, it is a great price. It's not too expensive, and it's not so cheap that you think something wrong.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, that was my last episode, I was just talking with the vice president of the Portland board. And one of the things that we sort of touched on was the reason why the weekend passes for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo are priced the way that they are, as opposed to the other major convention that we have here in Portland, which is like 3 times or more for the same kind of weekend access. And it's largely because the Portland Retro Gaming Expo is a not-for-profit event. And so their only financial concern is, how do we make just enough to do this again next year? Like, they don't have anyone.
How do you make sure everyone is paid and happy?
Well, that's the thing, not even paid, like, because all of the board members are completely unpaid.
No, I mean, like, vendors and stuff that you have there are like for everyone, like food and all that. As long as the event has been paid for and everybody had a good time, then that's awesome.
Some guests have certain contract requirements and things like that, and you get that all costs money, and of course hotel rooms and whatever. But yeah, so that was, I think, kind of a fascinating thing that a lot of people maybe don't understand about the Portland show specifically. But then I would be curious to see, especially with their pricing for the Midwest event being so aggressive, because that's the thing that shocks me. I don't know if the Midwest event is not for profit or not. But whether they are or not, those prices are surprisingly low.
Yeah, I mean, again, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure they are not a nonprofit. I know they've done charity stuff, but
Mm.
I don't think they're a nonprofit. Um,
Well,
but
and that's their business. If somebody from the Midwest Gaming Classic wants to come on the show and like talk about it, I would love the opportunity to have somebody come on the podcast, you know.
I'll shoot
But
a message to Dan. He's the owner of it.
I, hey
Okay.
man,
So the prices are a little more than I thought they were. So yeah, the VIG is 175, and then the 3-day is 100. Even
okay.
still, I mean, even
Well,
if you
and
went Saturday and Sunday, because Friday is the preview day,
sure.
Saturday and Sunday is $60.
I mean, that's
That's a
that's
great
really
price.
not bad at all.
Yeah, and then
Um,
I mean, they even have workshops and stuff. Like that's what I'm doing there because I'm a guest there this year, and I'm doing the same workshop that I did last year. So doing a how to reshell and rescreen or like mod your screen on a Game Boy Advance, and then this year we
okay.
added also doing it with an SP. So
Oh, nice,
yeah,
nice. Yeah, the Game Boy, man, the SP is still like one of my all-time top favorite
yeah,
consoles. Full stop. Like it was
yeah.
such a perfect design, a perfect little yeah. Just the clamshell design of that and how extremely well it fit into uh everyone's lives at the time.
Yep.
Maybe not the highest horsepower device ever made, maybe not the like, you know, most expensive or high definition device ever made, but boy was that little thing a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, now like it's so cheap and easy to mod them now
Yeah.
with like IPS screens and stuff. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Is that workshop going to be recorded or posted anywhere?
So they don't like live record them or anything. I usually include footage of it in my con video.
Mm.
So there will be footage of it. Like last year's con video, I had a bunch of footage of the workshop. And with that one, I mean, we only had like 3 weeks to advertise it. So we set like a super low threshold for how many people could sign up for it. And at first we were like, oh man, there's only like 2 people signed up. And then the day before, it ended up selling out, and then we had a couple of walk-ins as well. So it went really well. I think we had like 10 people, I want to say, or maybe it was 12 people.
Gotcha.
So we upped the total attendance allowed on both of them a little bit this year, and they told me yesterday that everything is live for that now. So anyone that goes and buys a ticket, then if they want to do a workshop on Friday, like before preview night and all that stuff, then they have workshops available. So they have the ones I'm doing. They have another one for like writing, and then Ben Heck is doing his game match.
We were just talking about Ben Heck on the last
Nice.
episode. That's funny that you brought him up. Yeah, he came out to Portland a few years ago because he was working on trying to fix the Nintendo PlayStation
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that we had here in Portland.
Yeah, that was
For
where
a
I
minute.
first met him. Was at PRDE.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was intense, man. Just to be in the presence of one of the only
Somebody that
two
knows
Nintendo
electronics like that.
PlayStations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, it sure would be nice if somebody had a YouTube channel that could post a whole workshop on how to do those mods to a Game Boy SP. If only somebody had a YouTube channel. Hang on, if only someone had a YouTube channel that could make
Let's see
YouTube
here.
videos for YouTube.
Well, I mean, if only there was a podcast that went to my back catalog of videos and saw my SP videos in there. So I do have mod videos on there. But yeah, as far as the workshop,
Yeah, I know.
if I can get somebody to film it, I'll have a couple of people there that are going to be able to help out with like grabbing B-roll while it's happening.
Nice.
So yeah, would be able to post that. But yeah, I've done some on doing a GBA, on doing the SP, a Bivert mod on a DMG. There's another one coming up that I can't really talk about yet because it's going to be a surprise for someone. But that one's going to be really cool.
Okay.
And it actually worked out to where it's going to be the people providing the parts are now going to be a sponsor for the channel for future mod videos.
Oh shit! Right on.
And
that's awesome.
Won't name drop anything yet, but they are the company that basically makes all of the parts for all of these other companies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like all the big names where you can get parts and all that stuff, they get their parts from this person.
Oh, no
And this
kidding.
person is now going to start like sponsoring some videos. So that video that's going to be coming up is going to be sponsored here. I'll show you. This is a stand for the thing that will hold it. So I'm covering up what the logo is because the logo is printed on it. But if you can figure out what could go in that's what the video is going to be about.
I could figure out a lot of stuff that could go in that. That's not helpful. That's not helpful at all.
You're
But
welcome.
I guess we'll just have to check out the YouTube channel and
Definitely.
when that video drops. So Kris, we're about towards the end here. I just wanted to kind of check in with you one last time. Is there anything that you wanted to plug or promote before we let everybody go?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to check out my content or anything like that, I'm at Game Dad Show everywhere. Yeah, I mean, all of my main content is on YouTube, but any of the shorts that I do, I also put on Facebook and Instagram Reels, on TikTok, things like that. So I'm active on all of those, and it's kind of funny to see what videos work on different platforms and which ones don't. Because sometimes it'll be like, oh, I know this is going to take off here and it will bomb, but then over here it blew up, and I'm just like, I really know nothing.
Yeah, I've been producing shorts like crazy to try and like build up some attention for this show.
Mhm.
And man, don't even get me started on TikTok. Oh, TikTok.
Yeah, see, I view TikTok. For me, TikTok is the rule of 10. So it's whatever you do on TikTok, it will be 10 times less on YouTube. So if you've got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, to be at that same level would be 10,000 on TikTok.
Yeah.
Or you'll see somebody, they have 100 million followers on TikTok. And it's like, no, you guys have like maybe 10 million or a million.
Yeah.
It's really quick and dirty content on TikTok. Lots of views, really, really fast, and then it immediately dies.
Yeah.
There is no longevity. There is not evergreen content on there at all. YouTube,
really high
that's
turnover
all
stuff.
The evergreen is.
Yeah. Well, Kris, thank you so much for your time today, man. I really appreciate you hanging out.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick Up and Play podcast. My biggest and sincerest thanks to Kris from Game Dad Show for joining me today and hanging out. Of course, if you want to see more from this interview, I do have bonus content available at patreon.com/DJSwitchPDX, where you'll find additional content for every single episode of the Pick Up and Play podcast that has been released so far. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I have 3 more episodes already recorded, and I'm working on getting them edited and getting them out as soon as I possibly can. So be sure to subscribe and follow wherever you can to make sure that you don't miss an episode as I'm picking up steam, and I've got more and more content coming just for you folks. My biggest thank you to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo for supporting this show and helping me get it off the ground. Of course, big thanks to my sponsor, Fault 31 Bar. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen and hang out with us today. With that, don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what games you're enjoying right now or what games you're enjoying while listening to this podcast. And I'll see you on the next one.